Oh yeah, I've had a couple of good ones. Had a couple of good mentors that taught me a lot along the way, and I was fortunate enough to have them, and fortunate enough that they had the patience to work with me. I know the man that I worked for when I first went into labor relations. He was a seasoned pro in that area, and boy, he taught me so much about the game. And then later on, and I had gone into labor relations, and I had been in labor relations in 3 different corporations for several years. At the point in time, I met the head of this consulting firm I eventually went with, and he was a pro negotiator. Plus, he was one of the most intelligent people I've ever been with in my life, and he was also a sociopath, which was kind of dangerous. But he was bright, and he taught me things about negotiating and about people that were lessons I never forgot, and used to my benefit throughout the rest of my career.
Can you recall any of those things?
Oh yeah, just in negotiating, but how people react to things, and what you do and don't do, and little things, just the small lesson that has been taught to us through the years, but we forget. You can't be all things to all people. And his favorite saying was, he'd say, you can't be all things to all people. He said, even Christ only got 12, and then one of them went back on him. So, he's just, and that bang, that proved it to me. And he showed me that is the truth. And that can guide your thinking and your actions in a lot of ways. So it's very good lessons, not only life's lessons, but also the mechanics of what I did for a living, specifics there too. The first and best lesson that I learned from one of my mentors was that, there's nothing wrong with silence in the room. Don't feel that you have to fill up every little silence with conversation, because you end up saying stupid things you didn't intend to begin with. So, if they don't want to talk, you just sit there and you don't want to talk either. And I've had many times in negotiation sessions where I've had the union negotiator. See, union negotiators are typically more experienced than the company negotiators, because the given union business agent has probably got 25 or more contracts he's responsible for. You as a professional on management side maybe only have one. So for every one contract you negotiate, he does 25. He's learned a lot more than you have about it. That was one of the things that came to my realization through one of my mentors too. But they learned some tricks, and it's a common trick of a union negotiator to sit there and just be quiet, get you to say something. I had one that smoked a pipe. He loved to use that as his machine to delay things, and not say anything. Whenever I'd ask him a question and press him for an answer, he'd pick up his pipe. Well, it took him, 5 minutes of fiddling with that damn thing to get it going. But in the meantime, he didn't have to say anything. And the temptation was for me to start talking to fill up the gap. Well, you don't do that. That was a valuable lesson. Things that I learned through experience later on were true that they taught me early on. So I had the advantage that way, like, how it works when, say, you negotiate a contract with the union leadership that's at the table, and you got them with you, but then you got to get through the membership, and they got to vote to ratify that thing. And that can go a lot of different ways. And, how you structure the timing of that vote can be very important on whether or not the membership accepts it. So you have to work on a lot of not so obvious points in these matters to make them happen and come out right. So I won't bore you with all the specifics, but it's There have been some cases where when I'm ready to give a final offer to a union and say, okay, this is the final offer, I want you to take it to the membership and vote it. I'll say not only take it to the membership and vote it, but I want it voted before Friday, or I'm not going to give it. I'm not going to give you the offer. You promised me you'll vote it by Friday. Well, we can't really do that. I said, well, then I'm not giving you the final offer. Because they, for some reason, wanted to delay that thing and affect the outcome of the ratification vote. It was in my favor to have a sooner vote than it was in their favor, so I wouldn't give them the offer unless they promised me they'd vote it soon. So those are things you learn along the way that could be very costly mistakes if you don't do them.
That's interesting.
Yeah.